everybody? We are Team Covenant, and we're here with the newest pack of Game of Thrones Forgotten Fellowship, and we have nothing but interesting things to say, I'm sure. So stick with us, and we're going to unbox this thing and take a look at it. Everybody ready? You guys
Ready.
feeling good?
Ready.
Juiced up? All right, I'm going to start out with Maester Crescent. He's a Maester. Shadow 0. 2 strength, intrigue power. House Baratheon only. Of course, has a Shadows crest there. And after he comes out of Shadows, or after he's killed, return the topmost card of your discard pile to your hand. A lot of good things to say about it. I think he's
bonkers.
I think he's causing a lot of. It's interesting. The Baratheon cards don't seem overtly strong at first. Like if you're not like playing against this every day or week and seeing what this actually means for Baratheon, it can look a little underwhelming at first. But when you start to see the synergies that Baratheon has had coming down the pipe for the past 6 to 8 packs of discard pile recursion and of sticking around and meld schemes and the new dude that goes to the discard pile after dominance and then comes right back with any number of effects. So they always have a 4 strength, deadly, no kneel, defend attacker on the board.
Yep. Great.
Just another amazing synergistic piece of the Baratheon puzzle. And I think it's pretty cool that we're seeing different ways to get card advantage out of different houses. Starks are really getting that search thing going. They've always been good at it, but it's starting to tick in a little bit more. Baratheon appears to be all about discard pile recursion as their kind of method of card draw. And right now, man, it's strong.
Mm-hmm.
I think none of us can really say that it's not strong because it's massively strong right now.
I do really appreciate the fact that the different houses are finding different ways of getting cards in your hand.
Some of them.
Except for Greyjoy.
We
We won't go there. But I will say that this guy, in my limited experience with him so far, has been extremely annoying. It's like you Valor and they Narrow Escape, and you discard your hand, and that's fine. And then it's like, oh, I'm going to bring this guy up, and the last card I played was Narrow Escape, and they have it again. Or Seat of Power. It's really strong with it. The last thing you do at Marshalling is drop your Seat of Power. He's a 0 cost once he's in Shadows, so you could even use him to get cards back at various stages of the turn. Really, it can be frustrating.
2 strength, intrigue power is nothing to laugh at. Either.
Yeah.
Like it's
great.
He's a weenie. He also has Shadows Crest, so he synergizes with Kingdom Shadows, getting some of that more going on. It's just.
And it gets the, of course, as we were talking about, the Baratheon resource recursion engine, which is so obvious. And between him and Davos, just putting stuff back in.
It's good.
Narrow seas, in and out, in and out. And hey, you run some confessions, maybe. You're running a holy build and get your confession back, use it. He's killed, get your confession back, use it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, that is how that works.
It's the house of rinse and repeat.
Yep.
Next up, we have Mace Tyrell. He is a 4-cost, unique 3-strength military power icon, House Tyrell Lord with Renown. And he reads, if it is not summer, reduce the amount of power required for each player to win the game by 1 for each power on Mace Tyrell, which I think is hilariously awesome. I love that. It's a great addition to that Baratheon rush that they're just capable of doing. It's like, oh, okay, so
It's terrifying.
he's contributing a power towards your win with his own renown, but then now you only have to get to 14, but so does everybody else. But nonetheless, we all know who's going to win that race, ceteris paribus.
It's essentially just a faux double renown,
Yep.
but worse.
Well, the interesting part is, like, it does have the potential to go really bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just it's terrible. I really appreciate the synergy here with Red Queen's Faithful.
Mm-hmm.
Move the power onto him,
Yep.
which just gets absurd really quick.
Appreciate is a good verb there.
I appreciate it, yeah. I hate Red Queen's Faithful as a player of House Targaryen. But it is an interesting synergy, and I think this guy's an interesting card. He costs 4. I think he will get played in certain decks, and
Totally,
even
yeah.
as just a one-of that maybe you get, and if you're winning, it helps. He's a closer, and I think each deck has slots in it for a closer kind of character.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he's strong.
I think he's a really cool double-edged guy, too, because if he's an issue for you, just kill him. I mean, he's kind of like that double-sided Theon or some of these double-sided cards that will just take care of themselves if it's an issue. So it's
Yeah.
like, well, I'll just kill Mace.
I
And
think
then you're not close anymore.
He's also hilarious in melee.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You're going to start having opponents saving your characters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's, I mean, with interesting steely character stuff and with cold hands coming in, and, he's not terribly, I guess, disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, a great little include in Baratheon there.
Yeah.
Very interesting ability,
Yeah.
Mhm.
which I like.
It's cool.
Up next, we have Riches of the Reach. It is a House Baratheon only event. It's any phase. Draw 4 cards, ignoring the draw cap. You cannot draw cards for the rest of the game. I'm not a fan.
Well, that's risky.
I think this was maybe not obviously. I think it was made with the Baratheon agenda in mind.
Mhm.
Where you only draw 1
It's
card
great
a turn.
art, by the way. Yeah.
It is great art. We only draw 1 card, so potentially drawing 4. But the fact that it shuts off draw period for the rest of the game is
Well, you have to, if you're going to play this, you have to win now.
that turn.
Right
or
now.
Very
or it's
soon.
over. Yeah.
Heaven forbid this gets canceled.
Hmm.
Do you draw 4 and then don't get the...
Yeah, that was the question I was
you
wondering
do 4
about.
and I let you draw more later on.
Who knows how this game works?
This is an interesting one. I don't know. It's when you want to see it, you want to see it. So you want to have 3 copies in because you're rushing. But then it's like if you get 2 of these, it's useless.
Mm-hmm.
And chucking that 1 card in for 4, and then you're really only netting 3 cards, and then you can't draw.
I mean, the interesting part...
It's risky, man.
When you get to like mid-late game as a Baratheon player, especially if you haven't played Mel's schemes yet,
Mm-hmm.
You kind of you want cards, right, in your discard pile. And once you get to that point in the game, if you have 10 cards in your discard pile, you may have all the tools you need.
You may not need to draw, yeah.
Whatever you draw is in, like, at that point, it's like I have 6 cards in hand, 1's an Narrow Escape, I have Mel's schemes left, I'll put 4 more cards in, and it's like either I'm going to win in the next couple of turns or it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting card. I feel like the drawback is so big that players are like going to shy away from it just because it's such a terrifying, what if it goes wrong? What if this game goes long?
Yeah, it's quite a prospect to face.
Mm-hmm. It reminds me of Twist of Fate, though. I feel like it took a long time to be able to come around to that, and now it's like, you see Twist of Fate fairly often. I mean, it's not unusual, so maybe it'll happen.
Absolutely.
I would have liked to see this be a neutral card, to be honest with you.
Would have made it more interesting.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yep.
Next up, we have Grand Goodbrother. He's a unique Greyjoy bannerman. 2 strength, 2 cost, military, intrigue icon. If you control more locations than each opponent, Grand Goodbrother cannot be killed or discarded from play.
Mm-hmm.
Solid.
It's cool. At first glance, it's really cool. I played with it a little bit. I also played with the new Asha that can't be killed. And the interesting thing is that sometimes that is a huge issue for you.
When they can't die.
You got a 2-claim military challenge coming your way. You've got Gran, Euron, and some other decent character out. It's like, now I've got to kill my good stuff because I can't choose Gran. So I'm less inclined towards this card because it is so low costed. Like if you had a 5-cost Euron that can't be discarded or killed, that's something you would never really want to leave the board. But this is a guy where it's like, I can stand for Gran to leave the board if
He's
Gorld isn't
effectively
out.
a weenie, yeah.
He's a weenie with icons. That's all he is, and he gives a bannerman if Gorld's out.
Yeah.
So without a more pressing and interesting effect on the game, I have taken him out of my decks at least.
Wow.
It's also interesting giving cannot be killed to a house that is known for saving.
Yeah.
Because if you really want something not to die in Greyjoy, you should be able to prevent that death.
Mm-hmm.
Except, of course, against burn. He's a good anti-burn card.
Yeah,
that's a thing.
if you need a 2-strength dude just sitting around.
Hey guys.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be 0 strength.
Sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
I'd say it's a weird synergy issue, and I just don't know. I don't really like it.
Yeah, I think you're ultimately right, though. That the amount of deflection that he puts negatively on your other characters can be quite the problem.
Mm-hmm. At least he's a bannerman.
Yeah,
that's true.
That's a thing.
Mm-hmm.
But then Gorld's the only thing that works on bannermen so far. So if we had some more good brothers that are
if there were more.
I mean, yeah. If it's like if there's one that says for every bannerman, draw a card or something like.
Yes.
Yeah.
That starts to become synergy. That's just kind of what's lacking right now in the house, I think.
Yeah.
Let's move on to Longship Maiden's Bane. It's a 2-cost unique warship. Challenges phase. During a challenge, kneel Longship Maiden's Bane to have it participate in the current challenge on your side. That's either as the attacker or defender. As a character with cannot be killed and X strength, X is the number of warship cards you control, and of course that includes Longship Maiden's Bane. So at its worst, it's a 1-strength character that participates in a challenge and can give you an opposed challenge against a deadly dude because it can't be killed. At its best, it can be a 4 or 5 strength thing that's jumping in whenever you want.
How about messing with battle math?
Yeah.
That is
House Greyjoy new attribute.
I think this is really solid. I think it's a really good card. I don't think it's great right now necessarily because battle math doesn't really exist as much as it once did. It's more about, Westeros Bleeds math and plot phase shenanigans math. And it's that kind of stuff right now. So the fact that you can't target him with character effects, I think, are cool until he's in the challenge. Would you House of Dreams this? It could be an interesting thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if it were like if we were playing like a draft format, I would say yeah. I just don't know. Maybe there's this weird build for Greyjoy, and maybe we should explore it where you have those warships that you pay gold to make them characters. You have this guy coming in on challenges. It's Valor immune, more or less.
Mm-hmm.
It could be there. So it's something to look at.
And
sure.
It looks amazing as well.
And it looks very cool.
All these
It's
warships
gorgeous.
always
Yeah.
just look badass.
Yeah.
I mean, there is something to be said of not allowing unopposed challenges to really happen.
Yeah.
Let alone the battle math, just being able to add a dude with a strength or maybe 5 strength, depending on how many warships you have out. So I think this is a really interesting card. I'd be interested to see a warship deck.
Yeah. Maybe we'll go there next.
Yeah, I think
Got
Greyjoy
nowhere else to go.
is pretty
right
well
now.
poised to do that. that chick. Next up, we have Euron's Favor. It's a 0-cost Greyjoy attachment, favor traded. It has setup, and you attach it to a character control, and it reads, any phase, discard a warship location from play or from your hand to give attached character +4 strength and deadly until the end of the phase.
Warship deck, man.
Warship
The
decks?
warship attachment deck.
Yeah, worship deck, interesting. I don't know.
I don't really like this terribly much. I mean,
No.
I was initially just thinking, like, this is the sweetest thing ever. But the discard a warship location from play is a fairly high cost. There's not too many cheap and ultimately valuable warships in Greyjoy. Stephen could probably speak to that way better than I can.
It's true.
But I think that unless this was like one of those really make or break moments, or you just wanted this in play to even more screw with the battle math type of thing, I think that there are way better things that Greyjoy could be running.
I mean, as far as attachments go, I really like seeing a lot of attachments lately with setup. I
Yeah,
think it makes
that's
them
nice.
so much more
If every
playable.
attachment had setup, I think we would be playing just a different game for sure. Like that changes the dynamic of attachments so much. This is your cost setup card. Like
Mhm.
that's great. It's
It
a
is great.
refugee. you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah, I think the setup keyword is so huge here. Again, to me, it's an interesting card. I think maybe there is a warship deck. I don't know if Greyjoy has a way to get warships back once they're gone.
There are a few ways. First mate is coming to mind.
So, if there are ways where you could discard it, and even they get blown up or something, and having ways to basically get them back and use them over and over again is
Yeah.
really interesting to me.
And it is possible. I mean, that deck certainly does exist. If you have, 3 first mates in the deck, every time they win a challenge, you can pull one from your discard pile or your hand and put it immediately into play.
That's nice.
That's solid. So maybe 3 of these, 3 of those guys, and we're off to the races.
Mhm.
It's worth looking at, but again, I'm tentative because it's one of those things where it's like, I feel like it's playing a different game than where the meta is right now. It's
Mhm.
playing a game that is
The actual
trying
game?
to, that's like opposing and challenges and all that, and it's just not. It's not quite there right now.
Game
but
of attachments.
Yeah. All this is very interesting, and the art is
Yeah.
just phenomenal.
No doubt about it. I wonder what he's drinking there.
All right.
I have an idea.
Up next, we have Grand the Maester Pycelle. He's a 3-cost unique Lannister card. He has the Maester trait.
Boo.
Still PTSD from Maesters.
Go ahead. Sorry.
He's 3 strength. He has a learned crest. He's an intrigue and power icon. He has a response. After you win a challenge in which Grand Maester Pycelle participated, discard up to 2 cards at random from the losing opponent's hand. Then that player adds the same number of cards from the top of his deck to his hand. So it's without his beard, but repeatable and on a character.
It is just that, but more to the point, I think that what makes this character stand out, if anything, because that response is vanilla E at best, and I don't even know if I want to trigger that these days with recursion being what it is. Nonetheless, he is a Maester who you can use with At the Gates, and he has a learned crest. Lannister has very few of those kinds of things, so having one that fits that mold is probably the biggest asset, if anything.
Yeah, Outwit and Schemes the Scholar.
Mhm.
Schemes the Scholar I would like to see come around.
Yeah, totally.
It's a very cool plot, but it's just
I was
not
doing
quite there yet.
I was doing it with a PBJ with Hugor Hill, but it was only okay at best.
It was trying hard.
I think this card also really excels in the draft format.
Yeah.
I feel like this card is way more powerful in
Mhm,
draft
that it
than
would be.
is in.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's just weird that you add the same. I would like for it to say discard up to 2 cards, then that player draws 1 card or something.
Yeah, something to like undercut
even
that
if it let
curve.
them draw 2 cards,
Mm-hmm.
and it was against their draw cap,
Mhm.
you know, a lot of games they're going to be
Mhm.
drawing 2 or 3 cards
That's
a turn
true.
against their cap, and they could maybe already be capped, or you could even bring in something like Threat from the East
I think
to force
that's
them to cap.
way better design,
Mhm.
honestly.
But
Pycelle was always kind of at best, so.
well, yeah, it's true. Well, he at least acted man. I wonder, with all this, I don't know. You've got to think: is there a reason at some point that Lannister wants cards to be in the discard pile? You know, Greyjoy has certain abilities that trigger when stuff's in the discard pile. Is there anything like that for Lannister yet?
Not that I'm hip to whatsoever.
Like-
They're still just a straight up card draw house, and there's not much otherwise that would really allow for you to make a functioning proper deck that would do
That's-
something like that.
If it was, I could see it if Lannister started getting some like hand knowledge cards.
Mhm.
You know, where it's like
They do have those kinds of things.
like
for sure.
look at your opponent's
Mhm.
hand.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so it's like,
oh
well,
man, there's an narrow escape. I'll take a shot.
they've
at
got
this.
3 really awesome cards in their 3-card hand. I think it's worth it to replace with 2.
Mhm.
So maybe if some of that synergy happens, could be cool. But it's
Yeah.
not a game breaker compared to what Lannister's been getting. I would say.
Yeah,
it's,
I mean we're due for some just this is okay
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
cards.
yeah. Always good to see a 3-cost Maester though.
It is.
Yeah,
at the
it's great.
gates.
3
always
strength.
good.
All right. Next up, we have Tywin's Favor. It's a 0-cost Lannister attachment. It's a favor. Setup, again, super important. Attached to a character you control. Any phase, discard attached character from play to add 4 gold to your gold pool from the treasury.
It's not terrible.
It's not terrible at all.
Terrible at all.
What I immediately go to actually is using this out of house. It's going to cost you 2.
Mhm.
It'll net you 2 gold once you use it, obviously, and the character. But you have those situations where Valor's getting ready to happen. As a target player, I could see this being super useful.
Mhm.
What's Slavers Bay?
Yeah,
Just reduce it to 0.
But just paying 2 for it. If I'm maybe running Danish Chamber, being able to get it back with a 0. All those little guys that are just.
Yeah.
I mean,
Who cares?
Who cares? Or even being able to recur those guys. But yeah, I mean, picture like I'm getting ready to threat from the north, and 2 of my dudes are getting ready to go away. It's like,
Mhm.
oh, I'm gonna go ahead and just have 8 gold.
Yeah,
Thanks.
I'm glad you mentioned Valor because that was about as best as I could figure that a Lannister player would want to use this card, as if that Valor's come in and you know that it's inevitable, and you can get a quick 4 gold when that character is otherwise going to die anyway.
Also, I want to note too. Sometimes you want a character to leave play.
Mhm.
That's where my brain was going. Because I think there's some stuff right when this character leaves play, kneel a character. Is there a thing like that?
Yeah, Parting Blow.
Well, no, I think there's a character for
character
Lannister.
itself.
A character itself.
I feel like
I'd have to think.
I've gotten known
it's
by
not
that
coming to
before.
mind, but
Or like even Doubting Scepter, right? Just draws a card when
Mhm.
it's discarded.
Yeah.
Or it may be killed, but
I
it's
mean,
worth looking at. Like
in
that.
any house that has a when it leaves play effect, and
Mhm.
I'm immediately thinking of Baratheon. So I'll discard Dale,
Yeah.
get 4 gold, and get a card back with Dale.
Yeah, totally.
And then play Dale, because I just
Yeah.
played Melisandre's schemes.
Yeah, so there's interesting things. Again, I love the setup aspect of it. Really interested as a target player to potentially use it at a house.
Mhm.
I think this could be massive. Giving myself gold going into marshalling for sure. Going into marshalling and draw as
Yeah.
a shadows action could also be huge.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I'll have 4 cards in shadows and like I can only get 1 out during challenges.
That's actually the thing that I was thinking the most is those shadow phase things. It's like if I could start pulling them out in draw phase and marshalling, that can be a really big difference right there.
This could also be a nice panic button for you need to win dominance right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Nelt character.
One more note on that too, just because we've been seeing it a little bit more lately. Really easy way to lower your command.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you need to play Rally Cry to get rid of their House of Dreams location or something, and this lets you just get rid of characters real
Minus
quick.
2 cards.
Yeah,
from
and
command.
it's
Very
reminiscent
nice.
of what was it, the coin mint, in terms of it being a 2-cost location, and then you can get 4 onto it and that kind of thing. It's similar. This is just working with a character. So
Yeah.
if you're a fan of coin mint, I think you should at least look at this as well.
Yeah, and I mean, just thinking about the options available too. A lot of times you'll have reducers.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I can reduce target characters, but I do into a neutral guy I really want to play. So I'll play the target character for cheap, attach this, discard
Yeah.
him, get my gold that I need to actually be able to play the
Mhm.
whatever it is I need to play.
And Lannister doesn't want for cheap weenies either. So they
So,
can throw
I think
this
this
on
is a
there.
really
Nice
interesting
little card.
card.
It
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
Yeah.
I dig it.
Well, let's go on to Lashing Out, another interesting card. During an Intrigue challenge, kneel 2 of your Lannister characters to kill all attacking characters. So we've seen lethal counterattack for Stark. Now we have Lashing Out for the Lannisters. And do we have the
Low to the last target.
Yeah, that's so we've got all 3
Trifecta
of these.
complete.
And it's the kind of thing that just makes you nervous.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know?
It's just one of those cards that you always have to, do they have it?
Very glad it's an answer to Power of Faith at a time when I think it's needed.
Mhm.
Whether it be Noble Cause or just the, I won't say easy decks, but just the decks, even Greyjoy Holy is like this. I play all my Holy guys and I play these 2 plots, and 50% of the time I win.
Yeah.
Just because I'm not kneeling to attack. So I think there needs to be answers to that kind of non-kneeling massive nonsense, and these are good ones.
Yeah, I agree.
Very good ones. Does it make it into the deck? I don't know. One of could be cool.
Yeah, it's a very specific deck, but to at least to know that it's out there to threaten within the meta is, I think, work enough.
It's also worth noting that it is not House Lannister only,
That's right.
like the other ones are as well.
You just have to have Lannisters.
It has the Lannisters, so like the Martell cards that are dual House Lannister, and like you can play this out of house,
Mhm.
Yeah.
in theory out of house, and then surprise some people with it, I think.
And in case you're feeling extra frisky, you can actually kill your own attacking dudes with it, because it does not say
Oh, no.
opposing characters or whatever. So if
Mhm.
for
Also,
some
in a
reason
melee-
that's
Melee, of
crazy,
course.
In a melee,
yeah.
if someone is attacking someone else,
Need we forget?
it doesn't need to be initiated against.
Yeah,
you.
these are melee, just
Gold.
insane.
silliness, yeah.
And I mean, thinking about plots you combine it with, I know with Lord of the Last, I use Lineage and Legacy, so they have to empower for the military, and like you force them to attack with a lot of things. Same thing here. It's Shadows and Spiders, right? Forces you to win Intrigue before
Yep.
you can do military.
Anything, yeah.
Before you can do anything else,
Mhm,
yeah.
mhm.
So really strong for Lannister, I think, to run that plot. They already in a lot of their decks ran that plot, and it can be mean.
Yeah, the only thing, because I was thinking similar plots with like Frey Hospitality, that kind of stuff, is whether or not this will compete much, if at all, with misinformation, where Lannister just straight up wins an Intrigue challenge at any time. I think this has more jank potential, especially in melee and that kind of stuff, but it's a fun little card to think about.
it's a swinging card for sure.
Yeah.
It'll either be amazing or pathetic.
Yeah,
It's one thing to win the challenge and stop them from doing the others.
that's right. Let's kill
It's
those
another
characters.
to kill everyone that they just included
And you
and
put
it-
stop the challenge.
And you put a
Mhm.
chud in there and you win the challenge. So
Yeah.
seems fine. Seems good.
So
It's
super
true.
interesting cards.
Boom.
Click.
What do you think, Southern? Are you running the Eris?
Oh yeah, that's right. It is me. Southern Eris. It's a 2-cost Martell character with 2 strength, military, and intrigue icon. Sand Snake, Bastard, and ally traded. Reading: Southern Eris gains stealth and deadly when attacking a player who controls more characters than you.
Well, I mean, at least there's synergy. I mean, we're seeing so many of these
Yeah,
cards that,
yeah.
is going on.
That is really good, actually.
Yeah, 2 costs for stealth.
For a non-unique Sand Snake, too.
Yeah, totally. I think that's fantastic. The Sand Snake sells it
No
ultimately.
use for griefs coming up, guys.
Stealth and deadly, though.
It's weird. You know, it's weird that it seems so anti-synergy to me, because when you know use for grief, it's like now I have 20 dudes on the board, so
Mhm.
she's turned off. And she's just she's still just a Sand Snake with icons, so
Yeah.
that's fair enough, but it's kind of weird that where you would think she would slot into a deck is actually where she's at her weakest.
Yeah,
So-
I was actually thinking to the spears more for her. Just having those keywords with
Mhm.
those icons, it's really good.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, there's also something on if you do go the no use for grief, which is a thing, especially in melee. There is something to be said of having cards that you can play before you've triggered it.
Mm-hmm.
So a 2-cost character with 2 things, and if you have less characters, is really good.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Probably worth having in the deck.
And Tim Rowe of all people knows this. You can have a Martell deck that has 30 events in it.
Mhm.
And it's
Yes,
like,
you
I run
can.
20 characters, 30 events, 10 locations. I'm almost always going to have less characters, but it's going to be the Red Viper, Southern Eris, and just crazy stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then you're never, I have so many tricks in my hand, it's like,
Good luck.
You
Yeah.
can't win,
You will never win.
but I also have less. So I think
Yeah.
that's a very strong Martell.
Yeah, I like it.
theme.
It's a good shtick.
Hopefully it'll work out for him.
Up next, we have Secret Schemes. It's another
Hmm.
House Martell only card. It is challenges action. Kneel X influence to reveal X cards from the top of your deck and add them to your hand, if able. Then shuffle X cards from your hand into your deck.
I was talking about this the other day, not necessarily about this card, but about how I in particular undervalue cards like this because I'm not like a controlling toolboxy kind of thinker. I'm more of an aggro, aggressive type thinker. So it's like, I look at this card and it's like, eh. But then when you think about it, and how many people are running Desperate Measures and Much and More, I mean, when Much and More came out, it was like, who cares? It's Much and More. No one's going to really explore that. And it's all over control decks. Just the ability to get the pieces, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think you'll easily see this in some really scary / annoying Martell control builds.
Yeah, I mean, Martell Hollow Hill, I feel like loves this. You can... Oh, it's challenges. So, I mean, a well-timed Red Vengeance. I mean, there's so many. Even during, like, your last challenge.
Go fishing is what we call that.
For, like, Westeros Bleeds. So they couldn't have, like, sniped it from your hand or whatever.
Yeah.
There's so many mean uses for this.
Yeah, totally.
Cards that add cards to the top of your deck that you can immediately go get. Heralds, a big deal there.
Nobody uses
as
heralds.
well as a regroup. I mean, there's weird stuff.
Yep, absolutely.
Robert and I were talking about this the other day. I was looking at my cards and I was building the deck for Midwestus, and it was like every time I look at heralds, they're amazing, but I never put them in the pile.
Yeah,
it's like heralds are great.
They are great.
What are we doing? We're doing it wrong. I'm almost certain.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because you pay the gold for a herald that puts it on the top of your deck, and it's like, if they play Much and More, or if they anything that shuffles the deck, switches things up, whatever it is, it's like it's a 2-cost single icon okay thing. But for a while I was running a deck that had Val as my restricted, and heralds are the boss.
Yeah.
Hey, you put a Tywin's Favor on that herald.
Heralds will
Boom.
get it
Good to
done,
go.
man.
Boom.
I think it's a new era, man.
Heralds everywhere.
Herald and the Heralds.
Next up, we have a neutral, unique Littlefinger. He's Shadows 10.
Yeah.
So
and I did say 10.
So you're saying he's as strong as Balerion?
He costs more than Valerian.
He's 12.
Sure, he's
technically.
actually only 12.
He's 3 strength, Lord Ally.
20% more
and for a
powerful.
12-cost guy, you would expect 3 icons, but he only has an intrigue and a power
He
icon.
has never touched a weapon in his life.
Lord, he's also the awesome trait of Ally.
Yeah.
That's what you want. Stealth, immune to opponent's events, makes it better. Reduce the cost to play Littlefinger out of Shadows by a single opponent's, your choice, current power total. So he doesn't actually cost 12, assuming your opponent's doing anything worth doing. And then he also has increased the claim value on your revealed plot card by 1 when attacking an opponent with more power than you.
It's pretty clever.
That's amazing.
It's really good.
Now, important things to note that I didn't notice on first glance is, from what I can gather, he does not have to be in any challenge.
Correct.
For that
it's
passive
just
to
it's a
work.
claim raise.
Your claim
across
is
the
raised
board.
forever as long as they have more power than you.
Mm-hmm.
If you're losing,
Now,
you're winning.
The interesting thing about this card to me is it is yet another control card, honestly. It slots perfectly into decks that are slow, that don't gain power early, your opponent gains a ton of power, and then you play Littlefinger for nothing, have raised claim until you catch up and win. Similar to Rally Cry, all these command effects, it slots right into that kind of play, which I certainly don't feel like needs to be stronger right now, but the card itself is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, the interesting part of it, right, is like, if you draw this early, he's probably not doing anything for you.
Yeah.
Even if you put him in
you can't
Shadows.
afford him early.
Yeah, it's like you have to wait until mid-late game, so I don't know how many copies you run. He's a really cool
He's a
card
one-of.
if you're already playing Shadow stuff. I think it's a fascinatingly powerful ability.
Yeah.
But you have to ask yourself, I mean, cards are important, so is it worth the slot? And I think that's what's going to ultimately...
And that's what's immune to opponents' events, right?
Yep.
That's a good touch. If it were immune to events, I would be too scared of the bleeds
Yeah.
nonsense. So I'm glad that it's...
Also,
I hope that becomes the new gold standard for
Yeah,
immunity.
yeah.
I want to note that it was card designed by the player community at Days of Ice and Fire 2012.
Awesome.
It was just
That's
pretty
really
cool.
cool.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
very cool.
I do
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
And it's a great card. I think it's a cool include in the game.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of good little fingers, so it's not
Yeah, there's never been a bad one, really.
an obvious thing. Well, let's move on to old 2-cost Alaris. She's unique. Citadel traded, which is interesting. I don't know that we've seen Citadel before. Have you guys seen Citadel?
Conclave is Citadel, right?
Is Conclave Citadel?
I think you're right.
2 strength, intrigue, power. I never touched Conclave, so I'm glad I don't know that.
Ew.
No attachments, which is huge right now, I will say. I think there's a lot of negative attachments going around Mel's favor, for
Yeah.
instance.
Hate that card.
If you are not running an agenda, Alaris gains response after an opponent running an agenda wins a challenge as the attacker against you. Name a challenge type. That player cannot declare attackers or defenders during that challenge type until the end of the phase.
This
One
plus
of-
Winter Armada.
One of the stronger effects that I have seen in the game thus far on a character, repeatable effect. This alone is an exceptional reason just to not run an agenda.
Yeah.
You can go runner one of, use the Summon by the Conclave plot, which we'll get to go get her. This was the saving grace that stopped a Noble Cause deck, run by Greg actually, to win on first turn instead of second turn.
Holy smokes.
So, Power of Faith, you get the
Mhm.
military challenge, Alaris triggers, and she doesn't... The thing is, like, she doesn't have to kneel to do this.
Sure.
So I put her out flea bottom, and it's like, who cares? She gets her effect. You can't do a power challenge this turn.
That's
you can't
great.
trigger a lot of things, and more importantly, it gives you the retaliation for days.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh yeah, I'm going to choose military, and now I'm guaranteed this 3 claim with Hammerhorn Raiders and
Yeah.
Vic. So I think it's remarkably powerful, remarkably strong, and just could not ask for more out of a
Yeah.
card there.
I think you're right.
I think it also pairs really nicely with the plots I was talking about earlier, where you have to win a certain challenge before doing the others. So I'm forcing you into intrigue first, and then it's like, all right, now you don't get military this turn. Or I'm
Mhm.
forcing you into name challenge here, and it's a strong,
Yeah.
strong neutral.
Challenge
Challenge control.
denial is a powerful element in this game, so it's great.
Yes. Could not be better.
Thumbs up.
Fantastic.
Way to go, Alaris.
Man, this art is insane.
Well, it's Magali.
Yep.
What'd you expect?
She's my favorite.
I'm hoping that we get a Magali in every pack for the rest of time. Anyway, this is Sansa Stark. She is a 2-cost unique Stark lady, 2 strength, intrigue, power icons, and noble crested. Very nice. Response: after you play Sansa Stark from your hand, search your deck for a card. If you have the fewest cards at your command, add it to your hand. Otherwise, discard it. Shuffle your deck.
It's great.
It is
Just-
great.
Just an amazing card of every single house.
This is the Sansa I finally want to meet, though.
she's.
all
I feel
broody
like
there.
her and Alana should hang out. Actually.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe there's some weird Sansa turning into.
You
Alanis
want to
thing.
just
Is
go
there
hang
that
out by
thing?
the
I
sea
don't
and
think
wear
so.
a cloak with a hood.
Let's just look all foreboding and sad by the sea. Okay, yeah, fair
Done.
enough.
Nailed it.
This card is great.
What a card, man!
It
It's
is
really good.
unbelievable
Amazing.
card.
Now,
Probably
on both
best.
sides of the coin. Like, even if you discard the card, okay, I'm gonna go discard a dupe that's in my deck that's dead. Like, I'm thinning
Mhm.
my deck if
Mhm.
I want to.
I was gonna ask, does Stark have any, or not Stark? Does Stark have any recurable cards from the discard pile, or any way of conveniently getting cards back from the discard pile?
I know where
Endless
your head is
Endurance.
now.
Endless Endurance comes back.
So it's one of those things where even if you run an Endless Endurance in the same deck, if you're lower at command, you go get the card that you want. If not, you get Endless
Mhm.
Endurance, and you can just
Mhm.
get it back and back.
And it's also worth noting you don't have to trigger it
Yeah.
if you don't want to.
It's not optional.
It's just, this is a phenomenal card. I mean, every Hollow Hill deck runs this card.
Yeah.
I don't see how you don't. Maybe more than just every Hollow Hill deck, too. Any control deck is probably going to want to... You pay 4 to get a 2-strength Noble that goes and gets any card that you want.
That's what you
I
want.
think that's fair.
Yeah,
even out of
huge.
Baratheon, let's go discard
Well,
something
yeah,
and
that's
recur.
what I'm just picturing. Play her for 4 to get a seat of power into your discard pile. Play Dale. It's just like
On your
Mhm.
mouse
Punch me in the
scheme.
face.
Yeah. There's just a lot of... Man,
Yeah.
just so good. And
I
being able to
think
search
it's
for
almost
the card.
auto-include, I think. I mean,
The only
tutor effects
the only
are
problem
fantastic.
with her is that she's competing with the other Sansas, and
Mhm.
all of our Sansas are good, I think.
I think
Mhm.
it's Stark, but
Yeah.
out of house.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
I'll
This
pay,
is the
I'll
one.
pay 4 to get Hatchman's Feast
Nuts.
Yeah.
every day of the week.
And once we get to Conquest territory, it's like, yeah, this character will be everywhere. And again, more control fuel, which I guess that's kind of the theme of Kingsroad for now. So maybe the next cycle will be kill,
I mean,
crush,
there is an
destroy.
agenda called Conquest.
I mean, the interesting part of that, though, is, we just had Valor Midwest Test, which is a decently sized event here,
Mhm.
and it was won by a rush deck. Now, piloted by a really good player, but at the same time, in a control-dominated environment, it's interesting that it squeaked its way in.
Let it know that it was a rush deck that went 2-2 in Swiss.
It's true.
So, I mean, that's the thing. If you come up against a control deck that beats you, you lose. I mean, it's kind of like the Barrack deck.
Mhm.
Your opponent has nightmares and wins, or they don't,
Yeah.
and you force them to have it. And if you have first known win in your plot deck, you probably win against Noble Cause. So there, I mean,
Oh, speaking of first knows, she first knows. In a
Oof.
good way.
in a
In a very good way. What?
Yeah. Yeah, so she'll bounce and you're going to use her
my
again.
gosh.
Yeah. Well, ever since I saw Cold Hands get repeated because of
Ugh.
first snow, I've been looking at different cards that I
No
like.
thanks.
Same thing with Heralds, though. Honestly, like you could
I didn't need to know that.
Control is insane. Right now. That sealed it for me.
just put it out.
Hey,
I'm gonna go get bleeds.
You know what that is? Bananas.
It's
That-
bananas.
That's top level.
That's crazy.
Some would say this card is
Bananas.
just so
That
good.
makes me crazy.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
Need we say more? But by the way, the art looks great.
It
Yep.
does look
Thanks,
great.
McGully.
Thank you.
Yeah, yet again. Home run.
All right, up next we have Rob's Favor. It is a 1-cost Stark attachment as a favor traded. Attached to a Stark character you control, limit 1 per character.
No setup. That's a bummer.
While attached character is
Costs money,
attacking
man.
alone, increase the claim value on your revealed plot card by 2. If you win that challenge, discard attached character from play. Cannot be saved.
Sweet Jesus.
Hard pass. Like, what? This is crazy.
This is good.
I'm just imagining, like, if you put this on, like,
Hungry Mob.
Hungry Mob, or if you put it on, they have to win alone, is the problem.
Yeah.
If you put it on, like, a Kennel Master, that gets +1 strength for every wolf that you have out, and you suddenly have, like, a 6 or 7 strength Kennel Master, and then it's like, oh, 4-claim military challenge.
See, I'll pay 3 gold in Lannister to put this on my dual house Lannister Stark Littlefinger, who doesn't kneel to attack. I mean, that's
Trying to
crazy.
discard him though.
Oh, it'd be worth it.
See,
So if-
I honestly do not think that this card is really going to see play. If it were set up, I would think that it would. But
I think it will see play. I just don't think it will see a ton of play.
Yeah, it's just like, so in the situation that you happen to have one character that can best your opponent's entire board and 2 claim is very critical, then yeah, it's good in that one situation. But a lot of times you're going to be holding it and be like, I can't win a challenge with a single dude.
A lot of the characters that you could win with a single dude are no attachments.
Yeah. It's like,
That's a good point.
this really slots into like crazy build a maester, build a barrack type
I mean,
stuff to me. I don't.
It's interesting though because let's say you put it on someone who's not that strong, right? And maybe you run out of Stark, maybe it's Stark Siege, maybe you're running plots that let you get extra military challenges. Just saying some scenarios here. And if I put this on a guy, that challenge becomes very important. So even if you don't use it, it's not like it just goes away and you get discarded anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So, right? Like you have to win the
Yeah,
challenge.
it's true. It's a constant threat.
It's
until it
threatening,
happens.
yeah.
So it's like, oh, there's one of my militaries that you have to win and block and hope I can't raise strength, or I don't even know what that card is that gives the War Cresty guys strength and stands them and on defense and
On
stuff.
defense. This
I
is
hate
for
that.
attacking.
Oh,
Frozen Outpost.
Yeah, that's right.
This is for attacking only.
But I'm just saying, like, if they go first and you have that on a War Crest guy, you can. Anyways, it puts a lot of pressure on them to win that challenge. Otherwise, you have like a 4-claim military.
It's also really good as start going second. You know, it's like you can't really kneel out your stuff
Mhm.
because they can retaliate pretty hard.
So
It's
just throw it out there.
There
It's a
is
card.
there's an open window for this card to be great.
And it could also potentially just be one of those cards that you put on something you have that can draw the ire of a lot of these more potent control effects. It's like, oh, you slap this on a weenie, and it's like, oh, do you really want to threaten a 3-claim whatever?
It is worth noting, like, if I put this card in play, like, you can't kneel out.
Yeah,
It just doesn't work.
I wish it had setup. That's all.
It would make it a lot better. That's for sure.
Because I know when you got all those cards piled up and you've got 80 cards in your deck and you're looking for where to cut.
Yep.
Are people running Long Voyage still?
They wouldn't be
next
cutting. Wouldn't be cutting if they were.
Next up, we have dragons, which I'm really excited
Hey!
about.
Art for days.
Yeah, this art is just
Did
awesome.
the same person do all 3?
Yes.
Yep.
Christopher Burdett.
So first up, we have Viscerin, 3-cost unique, 3 strength. He's a creature. He's a dragon. Military intrigue. He has stealth. He has no attachments, and he also has regal. Cannot be killed.
You know it's regal, right?
I think it's regal, but I say regal because I've been saying it forever.
Okay.
I hope it's regal.
I'm-
because that would make
I'm
a lot
not
of
changing
sense.
for you or anybody.
That's an assumption.
So
Does that mean that Rhaegar is Rhaegar?
I think we decided it was regal because it makes sense
'Cause he's the
given
one that claims power.
given the one that claims power. He has the lust for gold. And he's regal, you know.
either way,
Yes.
it sounds nice. So
He has a monocle.
as a target player, obviously we have dragons. We have lots of dragons. This is our 3rd version of Viscerin. I think this is the best dragon in the pack. I know we haven't gotten to the other ones yet, but this, of all the Queen of Dragons, deluxe dragons that you want to not have die, Rhaegal's the one. Like
Mhm.
that's the
Regal.
That's the most important one in most decks. I could It also, most importantly, gives you an intrigue icon.
Mm-hmm.
He keeps stealth, keeps no attachments. He obviously doesn't have ambush like the original dragon,
Wah,
but
wah.
this is a card.
I think it's great.
This will get played. It'll get played a lot in Melee. I can't wait to build a dragon deck. Also worth noting that you can actually 2B a dragon, this dragon, which is something you couldn't do with the
It's
original
true.
dragons. So I love this dragon. Even just a 1 of 3 cost unique, he'll find his way into decks.
Pretty solid, man.
Yeah.
I love an intrigue icon on a dragon.
It's
That
really
makes that
cool.
that Danny.
There's
And
something-
stealth.
These dragons just feel light. They feel like, I don't know, they're the minimal dragons, you know?
Yeah.
They're not fancy. And I gotta say, it's really refreshing to see new cards that don't have walls of text and like new effects and crazy abilities.
Yeah, man.
It's like, hey, here's a well-costed
Hey
character.
man, it's a dragon.
Not
What else
even-
do you
not
know?
He's a
even flavor
well-costed
text.
character.
Not
Yeah,
even
it's just
flavor
like,
text.
this
Yeah.
is a guy.
What else do we need to say here?
Yeah.
Well, let's move on to Drogon. He's a 3-cost dragon and creature, 4 strength. Only 1 icon there. He's got the military icon and renown. No attachments, and Viserion cannot be killed.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's
all
okay.
right.
It's okay. I
It's
mean,
all right.
it's not setting the world on
Yeah.
fire.
I
but-
think you would go to other Drogon before you would
Yeah.
go here.
Yeah, and I
personally.
mean, so at this point, if you're watching and don't already know that the other dragon is going to protect the other dragon, then you should know that. But one thing I want to know, I was talking to someone the other day, and there is something to be said if you get all 3 dragons out and none of them can die.
There is something to be said.
Mhm.
Especially, I mean,
They're the 3
it's just
amigos.
worth noting. Like, that's a thing. And I remember back in the early days when, it's like Valerian
Absolutely.
was happening. It's like, you can't consistently get Valerian out. It's like,
Oh, but you can.
oh, you can get Valerian on turn 1 or 2 every game.
Yep.
So if you really want, I mean, you can dance the dragons to go get the other pieces. You should be able to get these guys into play if you really want to. And because you can be a dragon a couple of these guys, even killing them early doesn't really, like, you can just get them back. So I don't know. I'm interested to see if there is a deck where it's like, hey, I have 3 dragons. You can't kill them.
The second
Sorry.
that hits is really a bummer.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest with you.
You missed your window.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like, man, if this does get out first turn, like you set one up and then
Mhm.
you go get one, maybe play a 5 gold plot and you play them both. That's scary.
It's
all
very
of a sudden.
scary.
I
Like,
mean-
how do you deal with that? I guess is the better question.
I don't know.
Nightmares.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah,
nightmares.
you have to have nightmares.
Fortified
but
position.
That's the
on
thing.
your
Or
Valor
you
turn.
start doing Valor to Heroes.
There it is.
Well, they're not non-kneeling. That's only if you get
They're
Danny.
gonna kneel.
Yeah, you're gonna
Um,
get Dan.
So the interesting
choose
part
to
for
kneel?
me though is just that is a powerful effect that you have to deal with,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
just because you deal with it doesn't mean that the game's suddenly over. That's not true at all. Like,
Yeah,
it's just a major problem.
especially these days.
So
It's awesome.
I don't know. These dragons are interesting, and I think it's going to get overlooked because people are like, "Oh, now I can protect Rhaegal or whichever dragon you like."
Mhm.
It's just
Rhaegal.
worth saying. If you can get all 3 out, it is a mountain to
Yeah,
go
go
through.
ahead, go ahead and complete the set.
I like that actually.
Yeah.
That's a good point. That's a really good point. Well,
Go-
shall we?
Go ahead and say it.
Rhaegal, 3 cost, unique creature and dragon, 3 strength, military power with deadly. Love the deadly keyword, although not the icons. I always love deadly on intrigue, man.
Mhm,
Love it
it's
so
the
much.
best.
No attachments, of course, and Drogon cannot be killed. So again, kind of a middle of the line guy, but as you said, if all 3 of these guys are out, heaven help us. I mean,
He was not being referenced by Smokey the Bear when they were talking about preventing forest fires either. So.
No, he doesn't much care. He loves fire.
No.
So
nice ice.
Mhm.
worth
Art.
noting.
I love the way he does the wings.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You guys notice
Looks
the
great.
wings?
Yeah.
It's all about the wings.
It is worth noting that there's a location that gives dragons intrigue icons. So you could technically have.
What?
Yeah.
There's a whole slew of
Yeah,
crazy
there are.
target
There's all
locations.
those dragon locations. So, I mean, the problem with the old dragons is they were expensive, and then if they died, you were kind of screwed because there's only so many dragons, and
Yeah.
if you have all these locations, I could really see a recursion deck that used Maggie's Promise and to be a dragon to get these guys back, and by turn 2 or 3, you're just
Yeah.
locked out. They're drawing cards when they attack. They're getting power, whatever they want to do, really.
Yeah.
Watch out for bleeds.
Watch out for bleeds. Paper shields, baby.
You gotta watch it.
Faber's
You
shield
can't
doesn't
paper
work.
shield it.
It's
You gotta
influence.
hand the judgment.
All right, next up we
Really
have I think this is probably or should be the most talked about card in this pack. It's
Ooh.
Bloodthirst. It is an agenda for House Martell only. Reading, at the end of the challenge phase, the player who controls the fewest characters draws 2 cards.
Boo.
This one's
I don't like
a
it.
slow burn, is what this one is.
Mhm.
This is like the knuckleball, honestly, of the pack. I think it's originally been received pretty poorly.
Mhm.
Just talking to people at Midwestis and cruising around online.
Yep.
It's kind of like, it's double-sided, and once you get ahead, then now your opponent has a chance to get back in the game and all that. Especially the opportunity cost of not running other agendas that might suit Martel better, even
Mhm.
if that's Quentin or Hollow Hill.
Yep.
But I think there will be some savvy Martel players that make people reconsider this agenda. We've seen a lot of synergy that's just kind of been traveling through,
Mhm.
involving fewer characters, and
The
Maybe
thing
not
about
committed
that
to that,
is, there's all that synergy for less characters, but Martel already is not starving for cards.
mhm.
Like I don't ever see a Martel player like, man, I just had some way to get cards. in
I
my
just
hand."
had more cards.
Like that's never the thing. And the like Hollow Hill alone, like the goal, the initiative, and the influence are all gonna help you play those cards that you already are getting,
Mhm.
and you're not risking your opponent getting a benefit as well. That's why I just
Yeah,
don't think
it's
that this
true.
is worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I ultimately come down on that side of the fence. I just question myself, if only because I am not a Martel player, and I wonder if this is potentially one of those cards that we're more or less being spoon-fed to tell us, hey, there are decks out there that you should be making that we're not seeing. Martel can run this thing where you do have 30 events and 20 characters, and you always have the fewest cards. But now, as opposed to just relying on these reveal effects, you can actually reveal and draw or do whatever you want, and you just have your deck in your hand by the end of the third turn or something
Mhm.
crazy like that. So I don't want to dismiss it outright, but my initial impression is definitely what you guys have already said.
I don't think it's bad. Like I really don't think it's bad. I think
Yeah.
that it will work. I think it'll be fine. I just don't think it's as good as the other options.
Well, I feel like it's not the same level, but the comparison I want to draw is to Heir to the Iron Throne, which is the Targ only agenda. And that being said, it's like I feel like it's interesting and it does something,
Mm-hmm.
but I just don't know that it's ever going to be competitive unless something else just happens and there's a lot of things that make
Mhm.
it work. I want it to be a thing so much. Like I want it to work, and I always have. And I think Martel players in a year or two will feel the same with this agenda, where it's like I've tried, and for whatever reason, it's just not.
It's like it works. It takes me to like tier 1.5, which is where I like to live, by the way, as you guys know.
Yeah, right there.
But
Almost good enough.
can it ever push you over to tier 1 as opposed to a Hollow Hill or a Quentin or even a no agenda period with Alaris and Summoned by the Conclave and that kind of stuff?
It's gonna be tough.
Hard to say. I would say a more direct comparison is the old way for Greyjoy. It's like,
Mhm.
this is a redundant thing that I already am good at doing. I
Yeah.
need ways to utilize that strength, not just do it again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like I already have a lot of cards as a Martel player, so.
And taking that for what it is, you look at all the other like big name agendas that we're talking about: Stark, Siege of Winterfell, Targaryens, Heir to the Iron Throne, PBJ for Lannister. Those are all realms that are essentially things they're already good at, and they're getting a buff to them for some sort of penalty. Is this kind of one of those things that's like, yeah, if Martel goes from 10 to 11 on card draw, does that compensate more than it otherwise would in
I don't
other
think
areas?
so.
I mean, there is something to be said of if you're going with the I have less characters than you deck. Like if that's a thing, Viper, wasn't it Ilaria Sand that had the power grabby ability?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
And then
a
this
few
this
packs
new
ago,
Sand
yeah.
Stack we got.
If you're going with that theme, not having to run card draw, that there is something to that where you don't have to have cards that draw you cards,
Mhm.
and knowing that every card you draw, that's what when I early days of my burn deck was experimenting with. Do you need draw if every card you draw is money, like on the head? So this lets you draw when you're doing what you naturally kind of want to do. So it's interesting. It just doesn't feel
Yeah.
as good as Knights of the Hollow Hill.
I agree.
It's a
yeah.
bit scary. I think the environment is shaping this card a lot too, because
Mhm.
we have a lot of Hollow Hill control. I'm not playing a lot of stuff on the board anyway, so this becomes extra spicy
Yeah.
whenever you're trying to compete at the field. I mean, they're not even getting a setup, so
Yeah.
it's like, are you really going to have fewer characters?
Yeah.
It's scary, and you can't give them more cards. You lose.
No. Yeah, you will lose. Even just one turn.
Well,
of
there
that.
you have it.
That's a big swing.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Anyways, up next we
Good
have Summoned by the Conclave.
Yes, we do.
It is a plot. It is 4 gold, 1 initiative, and 1 claim. When revealed, each player not running an agenda may search his or her deck for a character card, reveal it, and add it to his or her hand. Shuffle all searched decks.
It's amazing.
It's amazing, yeah.
This is great for character agenda decks.
It's crazy good, except that it doesn't say not running agenda or running a character agenda.
Mm-hmm.
Once you attach your character agenda, this thing is dead.
But I mean, if you're running a character agenda and you can open to go get your character.
Sure,
agenda.
Sure. Exactly,
Yep.
yeah.
That's if you don't draw it. Otherwise,
Yeah.
it's just a 4-1.
It lets you build a character agenda deck running only one copy of your character.
Absolutely.
Agenda.
Yeah, and that's a really
Don't let it get discounted.
it's a really good strength of it. What I've been using it for is going to get cold hands on demand. It can be huge.
Mm-hmm.
You know, having one of
That's mean.
egret in there, it's like, oh, you have a neutral I need to take care of. I can go get it. Getting things like, for me as a graduate player, I can go get Farwind, for instance. It's like, oh, I'm playing against a Wildling deck, or like something that's all about reduction, or Baratheon. I'm playing against Baratheon with an Arrow C and Seed of Power.
That's hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I'm going to go get Farwind, and you can't reduce anything for the rest of the game. So there's just being able to toolbox out anything that you need is, we know how strong that is now.
Mm-hmm.
And people are even running Summoning Season and just allowing
And
you to get a
this.
character. And so having them not get a character at 4 gold is fantastic.
Yeah, it's very strong.
It's a good enough reason to run no agenda. If you don't have an opportunity to run a decent agenda,
Yeah.
don't run one.
I'm surprised that's kind of one of the themes this pack took on. It's like, I thought those decks were pretty strong already and didn't know they needed the help, but whatever.
Well, I think the character agenda decks that have been recognized as good so far
Mhm.
don't need the help.
Yeah.
Well, they're rare, though, and I would say they've gotten churned down a bit. I mean, Quentin lost a lot of steam with Manning going on the restricted list.
That's true.
Danfair has always been there,
Mhm.
but it's not lighting the world on fire. There's not really been a character agenda. Quinn is the one that made the most noise, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But aside from that, it's kind of underwhelming. But
Mhm.
even, I mean, I was running no agenda this weekend with no character agenda whatsoever in the deck. It's
Yeah.
like, I just want a benefit of getting any character I want.
Yeah, totally.
Having Alaris turned on and a few other no agenda type things.
Yeah.
Like your fleets are dead. Okay, that's fair. I'm willing to take
Your
that.
capital flanks are turned off.
Yeah, in a black sales heavy environment where you're running fleets and stuff, it's like, you want to pay 7 for that?
Mm-mm.
You don't.
Nope.
Do you even have 7?
Yeah.
You don't want to
Well,
pay
if
They
you're
won't.
Baratheon, I'm going to reduce by 87. Thanks.
I get 4 gold for playing
So,
it.
phenomenal plot. One of the best plots we've seen
I agree.
in a long
Yeah,
time.
it's. I don't think it's
Aside from a Bradley
overpowered, but
card.
I think it's super. I mean, it's a great plot. It'll
It's
get
a
used.
plot that will see play.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's very good. So closing thoughts on this one?
It's a great way to seal out this cycle. It was an amazing cycle.
This is just a massive pack, really.
Yeah, there's a lot of gems in here. I don't think there's much to be said beyond that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
That's
super happy.
Sansa.
There are all sorts of cards in this pack that I want to play.
Mhm.
I'm really interested to see what the old dragons can do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's a great way to end the cycle. It was a fantastic cycle, so I'm excited to see what's next.
Coming
Yeah.
next month.
Yep.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for watching. This has been the conclusion of the Kingsroad cycle for us. This is a 6-chapter pack, Forgotten Fellowship. If for some reason you've been holding off on getting any of these packs until the whole cycle is complete, well, come on in. We've got chapter packs aplenty for sale, so you can visit our web store and grab those. Also, if you really want to support us, probably the best way to do that is getting a subscription to Game of Thrones. That is tremendous for us, and it's tremendous for subscribers. You pay a flat rate, and you can get every pack sent right to your door. No problem, no hassle.
Yeah.
And
Fire and forget.
Set it.
fire and forget.
Set
Forget
it
it.
and forget it.
Oh, Rocco.
So check that out if you haven't already. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next video. Hopefully the first unboxing of the next cycle, which will again start a whole new level of shenanigans
It's
and
going to be
excitement.
crazy,
Conquest.
man. It's going to be crazy.
So we're going into Store Championship Regional Season. Stick with us. We'll have updates and all sorts of stuff for you. Thanks for watching again, and we'll catch you later.